Hello my friends, HM here. I make videos about topics that are important for whether our future will be better or worse. Today's video will discuss some huge progress that Ukraine army has made in the front line in Ukraine around 3 areas. Bakhmut, they have taken territory, but they also took a whole new city, Rivnopil, and a lot of land around it, and they have established a bridgehead on the other side of the Dnipro River in Kherson city. And then finally I have some important news about the aftermath of the failed Wagner coup attempt on Putin, and it's brutal. But let's get to it. First, I have to get to my screen here. The biggest progress Ukraine has made today is around this city here called Rivnopil. I will zoom a little bit out so you can see where it is. So this here is Ukraine, and up here we have Russia, and the front line is basically running from all the way here and all the way up there to the border with Russia. That's a very long front line. I think it's about 400 kilometers. But the key area here of interest, let me see it. Yeah, it was right here, Rivnopil. And I want to show you how much they actually took. We can click this timeline here, and if we click back, so you can see this is how it looked yesterday, and this is how it looked now. Of course, these maps are always a little bit behind because the Ukraine army will not reveal how far they are, so they're probably further ahead, but it's quite important. And what has happened here, it was, let me zoom a little bit in so you can see what has happened. There is, see if you can see it here. Yeah, there is for this, the only way out of this city here is this road here that goes down here. And the thing is that Ukraine are also moving forward here towards these two cities here, Staromarovsky and Urodzani or something. I completely pronounce it wrong, but you know what I mean. These are the cities they're going for. And that means they are now very close to the only way out of this city up here. So let me move back in time. So they knew, Ukraine, that if they could just get down here to these cities, then all the Russian soldiers who are guarding this area here and fighting up here, they would have no escape route. They will be basically surrounded. They have mined all the fields around this city here, so they cannot move over those fields. They are full of mines. They can only move along that road. I think what happened is that the Russian army here saw that they were going to get cut off from this road very soon, and that's why they decided to pull out while they still could get some of their vehicles out. Let us see how long there is from between this road here, the only escape route, and then the front line here. There's only 1.5 kilometers. That means if Ukrainian tanks are sitting here, they can fire easily on targets that moves out on this road here. If Ukraine actually takes the road, then all chance of escape is completely gone. So it's quite important that they have taken this city here because it's such a big area. Let's make another measurement of how big it is. It's all the way from up here and then down here. It's 5.5 kilometers and then maybe 10 kilometers here. That's 50 square kilometers. That's a lot. That's almost as big as all of Bakhmut in just a few days here. Okay, and the other thing I want to show you is actually Bakhmut, where Ukraine also got a lot of progress. It's up here. Here we have Bakhmut. And if we go back, take a look at this area here, and also take a look at this area up here. Let's first look at this one. You can see this area here, they just got that. Also a huge area if we measure it, like almost 2 kilometers. It has been taken over the past 2 days, and they're making good progress there. Wagner forces was pulled completely out of this area and replaced with Russian forces. So now they are fighting, Ukraine army is fighting the Russian forces, and they are by no means as hard to fight as Wagner. Wagner was shooting everybody who tried to retreat from the front line. That was only one way, and that was forward. And if you moved back, you would be shot by other Wagner forces. So you only had one way to survive. That would be to move forward and achieve your objectives. So they were highly motivated, you could say, the Wagner forces. Maybe the Russian forces are not as highly motivated. That's why they're failing. And then there's a third area here, which is very interesting. I only have the information from Russian websites and also Ukrainians who are reporting from Russian bloggers. This is Kherson. This entire area was liberated a couple of months ago, a massive area, thousands of square kilometers, and there's a big river system here that was just flooded because Russians blew up the Nova Kakhovka dam here, and then the whole water reservoir behind that dam flooded this area. But now the water has receded, and of course there's far less water than there was ever before. So now Ukraine is actually trying to use that to their advantage and trying to land forces on the other side of this river bank, and they have some success in it. They have crossed, let me see, where have they crossed? Yeah, they have crossed right here, the Antonitska Bridge. That was a bridge that was blown up in the main highway over here. But it appears that Ukraine has been able to take ground here on the other side. And there's this city here, Oleshky, which is right in here. And apparently they are fighting on the Ukraine forces has reached the outside of this city, but they have made a bridgehead here on the other side. That's hugely important. You could say, how could Ukraine do that? It's actually quite difficult to cross this water. It's pretty wide and it's not easy to get heavy equipment over there. They can only have some speedboats with some infantry that they're getting over there, and then they can basically from the other bank they can use the heavy weapons, artillery. Let us see if they can use tanks. I don't think they can. I think it's too long. Let's take a measurement. Tanks have a range of about 4 kilometers. Tanks that are sitting over here can actually cover 4 kilometers here. They can hit stuff up to here from the other side, but that will be the absolute limit. It's not enough to go into the city of Oleshky. They'll have to move some tanks over on the other side if they want to use tanks to hit targets here. And what has happened is that Russia blew up that Kakhovka dam that's right here in order to flood these areas. And then they thought, okay, now it's flooded. Now Ukraine cannot cross it. So we will move our troops up along this area right here because Ukraine is having this offensive right now, summer offensive, you can call it. And they wanted more troops in a hurry. So they blew up this dam and moved their troops from this area to fortify positions up here where the main thrust of the Ukrainian offensive is happening. But that has meant that there's very little troops down here to protect this area. And of course, Ukraine have to try to see if they can get over and see how strong are they. And the reports are that they are not meeting a whole lot of resistance, which is good news because that means the Russians are probably thinned out quite a lot. Also, the reports are that Ukrainians can hear that the Russians are requesting airstrikes, but they're not getting it. So apparently the Russian Air Force is so busy elsewhere that it doesn't expend airplanes to support their soldiers here. So I don't know what will happen, but it's definitely something I'll follow what will happen here if Ukraine can get a bigger bridgehead established here and basically take a bigger area here. I think we'll hear soon about that. Okay, but I said I also had some news about Wagner and what they are doing, so let's go over there and read about that. So it appears that Wagner will move 8,000 of their fighters from their positions in Ukraine and all the way to Belarus, and that camps for these mercenaries are being built in Belarus. So it doesn't appear to be what I thought was that they were supposed to all of them be enrolled in the Russian army and thereby Wagner would cease to exist. But if they have 8,000 fighters and they take all of their equipment with them, drive from Ukraine and all the way to Belarus, they can drive through an area in Russia where there's practically no Russian army because they're all down in Ukraine. So that will mean that they're not going to be ambushed or anything because there are no forces that are big enough for that to happen. So now I kind of believe that Wagner will continue to exist. It will not cease to exist. And Prigozhin, I don't think he will take an airplane to Belarus. I think he will go together with his Wagner forces or he will be killed, kidnapped and tortured for what he knows about Russian army units that were declaring his loyalty because they would also be traitors to Putin. And then Wagner is, of course, what are they doing? They're mercenaries, so they want to make money from war, and they can keep doing that from Belarus now, where they can fly out from Belarus to Africa and other countries where there are dictators that are paying big money for their services to quell rebellions and so forth, so they can stay in power. But they're not going to fight anymore for Russia because Russia fear them now that they rebel again. They can't be trusted. And also the other grim news I have is that I'll not show any of it, but I've seen some cruel videos of Russian soldiers executing other Russian soldiers for having sympathetic views of Wagner. And they didn't even bother to use a bullet for that execution. They used knives to cut the throats of these Russian soldiers. The bloodshed continues, but it's only good for Ukraine that they're killing each other. And they definitely now will have 8,000 less forces to fight against Ukraine when they are in Belarus. I think they'll just go back to fighting wars down in Africa where it's a lot easier and they don't lose as many people. So that's it for today. I hope you will subscribe to my channel. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers in order to live stream and get the full package from YouTube here. I'll have many more videos up and coming. I can tell you I will make videos that are like this one, just some news, and that'll be out of date in a couple of days. And then I'm also making more long form videos where I talk about things that have lasting value that will also be relevant to watch again in a couple of years from now. So anyway, subscribe to my channel and thank you for listening. I wish you a fulfilling life in freedom and democracy. Thank you very much.